Hello, my name is Carly Webster, and I am speaking on Breaking the Biz podcast.
Stay tuned for today's episode of Breaking the Biz, an informative podcast where we dive into the world of entertainment by interviewing seasoned professionals who have made their mark in the industry. Gain invaluable insights as they share their personal journeys, offering advice on navigating the dynamic landscape of the entertainment industry. Whether you're an aspiring actor, musician, filmmaker, author, animator, or any creative soul, tune in for expert career guidance, insider tips, and first-hand accounts on breaking into the entertainment industry. Get ready to unlock the secrets behind successful careers and fuel your own passion for the limelight. Please remember to like this video and to subscribe to our channels for more great conversations.
Greetings from Breaking the Biz, brought to you by Yes I Can Unity Through Music and Education. I'm William Felber, your navigator through the intriguing universe of the entertainment industry, as revealed by the visionaries and creators who bring it to life. Stay tuned as we delve into diverse insights from the forefront of entertainment, hearing from pioneers, creators, and agents of change. Prepare for a journey filled with tales of innovation, resilience, and the undying quest for artistic brilliance.
Welcome, everyone. We have a great guest with us. We have Carly Webster, who is the founder of Disabled Music Fans Collective and a whole bunch more. In her bio, she shared that as a teenager years, engaging in entertainment fandom and going to concerts, that was a source of fun and community that she hadn't found elsewhere. She noticed a deep lack of representation for disabled people like herself. At only 15, she decided to create a nonprofit to help change that. Since then, she's had the privilege of working with artist teams and even going at a TEDx talk. Her intentions and aspirations will always go far beyond that. She believes that music is for everyone and no one should have to experience barriers to accessing it. She wants to work in the music and touring business because she would like to travel and give back to future generations of disabled music fans that will come after her. With the work that she's done, she's seen a greater change, and she is excited for us all to join her on her journey. Some of her skill sets include freelancing and contract work, event accessibility consulting, event production, VIP merch, administrative virtual assistance, and public speaking. Industry interests include booking, touring, live venues, management, marketing, human resources, operations, diversity, equity and inclusion, fan engagement, and administrative assistance. Carly, I would just want to thank you so much for joining us and accepting when I reached out to you.
Yeah,
So
of course.
I want to talk about when you kind of fell in love with music. Talk me through that.
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny story because I kind of grew up. My parents would play like country music and classic rock music in the car, and I'm like, this sucks. Like, I hate it. But then, I would. I think it's kind of funny because I kind of ventured onto the internet at a really weird time. I was like kind of just poking around on my iPad at like 10 years old, and I was like, okay, let's create a Twitter account. And so I think kind of through the, TV and, YouTube and all that kind of stuff, I kind of just kind of discovered like the music that I really loved. And I think, at the time it was primarily pop music, and it's just like, I found so much joy in that. And I think, I just remember vividly, like, spending my summers just, like, listening to music all the time, and, like, creating little music videos on my own, on my, like, iPad or whatever. And I think it really, I think, started to become, like, a career possibility for me after I left high school, or, like, when I was in high school, because I was very much into my grades and very much like studious, and I'm like not focusing on anything else but this grade right now. So like I to be honest, I was at my senior year of high school, and I'd only applied to like 2 colleges because I was like didn't want to do that. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I think it was the summer after I left high school, I like created LinkedIn, started getting involved with some street teams, and um, I think it kind of just slowly evolved. And I think music kind of helped me through a lot of those difficult times. And like I said, fandom's been really important to me, and like developing a support system and developing friends. And like, sure, now that I'm 21 and in college and stuff like that, there's not a whole lot of people from my fandom days that I talk to, but I still have like people that I um, speak to regularly, and I've made some of my best friends. One of my best friends is I've known her for about 8 years now because of music, because of fandom. So it's been a journey.
Talk me through fandom. I'm unfamiliar with fandom.
Um, so the concept of fandom that can apply to more than just music. So it can be movies, books, TV shows, all that kinds of stuff. So basically, and it doesn't even really have to be digital either, but it's a community of people who like that particular thing for whatever reason, and they kind of I wouldn't say it's more like, oh, it's a passive thing, like, oh, I just listen to this artist kind of whenever. It's more of like they really make the effort to engage with whatever like media subject it is. So say it's a musical artist. People in the fandom will generally like create Twitter accounts to discuss the artist. They'll participate in voting, like for award shows and stuff like that. And so I think it's like it kind of I really enjoy it because it defies geological or geographical boundaries. People. One of my still dearest friends is from Australia, so the time zones mean very little in the concept of like in the context of the friendships and the connections that we make.
I love that. That's awesome. So you mentioned hearing country music and going, turn this off. I hear you on that one. What are some of your favorite artists?
I would say right now I'm really loving Casey Musgraves, ironically, because country music, but I feel like she's kind of on the cusp. But let's see, what else have I been listening to? Um, hmm, I don't know. I mean, this is a hard one because like it just evolves so much. But um, Pale Waves is a great British alternative band. Um, Halsey just came out with some incredible new music. But yeah, there's to name a few. But I think I kind of one thing I struggle with, and I hope that my current the degree program I'm going into, I hope it helps me kind of develop a different taste. Because I find myself listening to the same stuff over and over. And it's like there's nothing wrong with that. Like nobody's gonna judge me for that because unless you're like stalking me on the internet and like see my Spotify or whatever, then they know what I'm listening to. But like unless I, outwardly say, hey, I listen to the same thing all the time, no one's gonna really know. But I feel like in order to truly appreciate and like be an advocate in this industry, I need to understand all aspects of it and the true landscape of it. And I think listening to different genres and understanding the culture and the history behind it is really important.
No, I love that. Getting expanding our palette, so to speak, on music. So, and I think the best thing with music is when a friend, shares an artist with you to check out, or you go to a concert and you get there early and you see an opening act and you're just blown away and you fall in love with a new band.
No, yeah, yeah. I think most of my like favorite bands have been openers of other favorite bands. So it's like it's a beautiful how you can, and I think that sharing of music really is like a bonding experience because then you and your friend, however close you are, have something to talk about, you know?
No, I love that, and that's very true. For individuals who have a hard time keeping a conversation or making friends, obviously having a musical artist or something that they have in common, that does make the friendship that much easier. Let me
Right.
ask you. I know you're a music lover. Do you love the lyrics or the music more?
Mm, I would say the music. I think for me, I don't when I'm able to just like headbang or like even just like shimmy around it, like it makes me feel a certain way. Um, I think lyrics are also really important to me as well. But if I can like get down with it, like if I can like hear those drums, it's like okay, it adds to that feeling. It augments the feelings that the lyrics bring out. And I think I enjoy. And that's another thing that I'm looking forward to about this program that I'm in is learning kind of the musicology, the like how something is like sonically versus lyrically.
Okay. I love that. So obviously listening to music, everyone on this call has an artist that they love. Music has, impacted them in a certain way. Music saved them during dark times. Music was there for joyous occasions. But there's a difference when you actually go see an artist live. And that's something that I know that you're really working with. Talk me through the first concert you ever saw live, and then tell me the last concert and why it made such an impact on you.
So my first concert, uh, if we're getting technical, it was Dora when I was like two. But if we're getting like, okay, I chose to go to this concert, I think I would say my first was probably like again, a country concert like that my parents took me to, um, I think 2015-ish. But uh, the last concert, oh, I've got a story for this one. The last concert that I went to the 2022 iHeartRadio Day stage in Las Vegas. And the story behind that is kind of a long and winding one, but another one of my favorite artists is the band 5 Seconds of Summer, Australian kind of pop alternative type genre. They were doing a very special show for their album release over in London at Royal Albert Hall. And they were on tour that year, and I was standing in line at their Cincinnati show. And one of their VIP coordinator, who I was really good friends with actually, came up to me and she was like, "Hey, I got something for you." And she introduced me to one of their security guards, and I'm like, what's going on here? Like, did I do something? Like, what's happening? And so they gave me free tickets to that show. Long story short, obviously wasn't going to be able to go to London, but they kind of finagled things where I was able to go to Vegas, and I spent a couple of days there with my aunt and one of my best friends that I met through them. It was a great time. I mean, speaking of hot, that day was, oh God, it was awful. My friend and I both were kind of feeling a little ill, and like we had a point where we had to kind of leave the pit because we were like, this isn't gonna work. But I think it was a really impactful moment because I felt like, okay, if these like four individuals like feel good enough about the support that I'm giving them to give me like free tickets to a show overseas, then I think like I don't know, it just felt very affirming and like very generous of them. And it was nice to be recognized in that way. But yeah, that was the last show I went to.
Okay. So talk me through the creation at 15. Not too many 15-year-olds create nonprofits, right? Like the inspiration, obviously, the love of music, community around music. But creating a nonprofit, did you do that on your own? Did you have help? And kind of just talk me through the creation of that.
Yeah, so it actually, again, this is another kind of long and winding story, but when I was kind of most active, again, this deals with 5 seconds of summer. A lot of my story revolves around them. If that doesn't appeal to you, then oh well. But um, when I was most involved in that, or I should say, when I started getting involved in their fandom about 2016-ish, I was 13 at the time. Um, I, kind of was active on Twitter, and fans would create these hashtags, and they would a lot of times trend on Twitter for various minorities in the fandom. So it'd be LGBTQ plus fans, fans of color, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, this is really cool, but I haven't seen anything for disabled fans yet. And so, some other people kind of noticed the same thing. And so we created a group chat. And we were like, you know what, why don't we create our own hashtag and see what happens? So, long story short, that hashtag ended up trending. And it was kind of just kind of a few hour long thing. But I kept thinking about it for a couple of years. And I kind of noticed kind of the same thing a couple of years later when those kind of hashtags and online efforts began to translate over to like fan projects and things at the shows. And again, I was like, you know what a perfect time to like bring this back. And so I will say, I'll clarify that up until about April of this year, we weren't an official nonprofit. We were like just kind of categorized like just as a kind of grassroots kind of fan organization. Very proud to say that we are now a 501c3 nonprofit. It was a big process, but I say throughout the years I've had various volunteers and other fans working with me, but a lot of it has been kind of me. Because especially the last couple of years with getting nonprofit status, it's like, okay, yeah, I've put a lot of my own money and my own time into this because it's it's what I envision. And I think it's been quite the journey trying to work through a lot of burnout and anxiety and all these other things that I deal with as a founder and as a woman and as a disabled person. But I think I've really tried to lean on my network as much as I can. And that's why I appreciate when people like you reach out to me and give me the platform to speak, because I think that's most important. I've always been a word of mouth person. So I'm always kind of looking for ways not to like shameless self plug, but like to spread the message and be like, hey, this is something that we all need to pay attention to.
No, I think that's very important. So let's talk about advocating rights and the community that you are trying to put together. When you went to a few of these concerts, did you feel that it wasn't inclusive? Obviously, you're very social media savvy and you communicate with different people through those platforms. But at the actual live event, did you notice that there were just not like accommodations or things that were needed for disabled fans that they needed to enjoy the experience or to be included in the experience?
So honestly, like, and I want to preface by saying I don't speak for the whole community. I'm obviously just one person. But I always recommend listening to as many people as you can. But I would say most of my experiences have been pretty positive in that I have been accommodated, and that I have been listened to, and it's primarily been the experiences of people like my friends or people they know, or just things I've seen in the news that like have struck my attention in that way. And I think it's really a lot. I mean, obviously, it's a lot of gray area because it's like, okay, you know, I think it goes down to people are wondering what it is like they are required to do by law, and it's like something that a disabled fan might be asking for is like not included in that law, or it's like, okay, is this like where it's a new kind of request to whatever party. But I think so. You're basically asking, was it inclusive when I went?
Yeah, no, I'm just like, for your experience, was there something that you were not, that you didn't see
Okay,
that you needed for yourself?
yeah, yeah. So the main thing for me, so I have cerebral palsy, so it affects mostly my lower limbs, and I primarily use a walker or crutches at a show. If it's an arena show, probably crutches. If it's a walker, most likely, or if it's a GA show, most likely walker. Um, so for me, it's like, okay, can I get in early before everybody else? Not because I want front row, I do want front row, but because I don't want to get simultaneously trampled while everybody else is trying to get to front row. So it's like, it's that, and it's also like, can I have front row as a like a something to hold on to? Those are usually my two main concerns, and a lot of the time it's been pretty smooth because um, I've usually already been like close to the front of the line anyway, or I've known somebody, like had a contact, like whether that's with the VIP company, whether that's with the venue. And I've, in those days when I was very heavy concert going, I haven't really gone to concerts much since the pandemic hit, but um, uh, in those days, I was like very, um, I would say, proactive about reaching out to venues and be like, hey, this is my situation. Sometimes they would be like, hey, we can't help you. And sometimes we'd be like, hey, absolutely, we'll give you a point of contact for day of show. We'll help you out. And yeah, so for me, the experience has been mostly positive, but I can't say that for everybody. And I've seen some pretty heartbreaking stuff happen. Um, and it's kind of just one of those things that we keep seeing over and over. And you would think, oh, a worldwide pandemic that primarily affects disabled people, you would think people would look at accessibility a little bit differently. But it's clear it's like we're simultaneously like going 3 steps forward, but like as they say, 1 step forward, 3 steps back. It's like, yeah, we're having the conversations, but it's like, okay, where's the action? And I think uh, disability and accessibility, like especially in like the venue promoter, that kind of space, I think it gets kind of forgotten about, primarily because these venues and promoters are run
You
by
guys, can
people
anybody hear
who.
me? Did her Zoom freeze or me?
That's you, Shiv, but please unmute. Sorry, Carly, continue on.
Okay, but these venues and promoters are primarily run by non-disabled people. So it's like there's a lack of representation there as well, and that's something that I hope my work can contribute to as well.
I want to say a few things here. One, I want to give you kudos for being able to self-advocate in your communication skills, reaching out to a venue, finding a point of contact, explaining the situation and what you need in order to enjoy the show, and for safety reasons, I think is amazing. I also want to let you know that there is a lot of people in this space working on fan engagement and accessibility and inclusion. There's John Bell with
Yes,
with
yes,
Live
John. Yep,
Nation,
I've chatted with John Bell a couple of times.
who's great. Austin Whitney with 1050
Yes.
Entertainment, who is
Yep.
also, a champion and someone that I deeply respect. There's two or three. I think Live Nation has two now. Golden Voice has accessibility as well. And when Austin spoke to us, from a perception of being in a wheelchair, uh, looking at a festival like Coachella, where it is just massive, right? And how do you get through? Like I'm exhausted walking around and I'm not in a wheelchair.
Right.
Having to get around from multiple stages and getting through crowds, and these are serious things. And the other thing that he looks at is food allergies and things that are served,
Right.
being able to bring in your own food if indeed, it's a gluten issue or a peanut issue, whatever it is, we all have our own issues.
Right.
But just know that there are people in this space
Yes.
that are hearing you, and you
Yeah.
advocating and having a platform and doing what you're doing is working in a positive
Yeah.
way, because you've
Absolutely.
mentioned your experiences up to this point have been, pretty good. But there are people, like sometimes security at music venues can just be jerks, right? But
Right.
you can kill someone with some kindness, and you can really kill someone when you're reaching out and sharing your disability, being open about this is who you are, this is what you need again
Right.
in order to
Right.
enjoy the experience. So I
Right.
just want to give you absolute kudos
Yeah.
on that.
Thanks.
So let me ask you, you graduate high school, you know that you want to do something in the music industry. Obviously, you're pursuing college now. What did you do as soon as you got out of high school to pursue your dreams of being in the music business?
Yeah, so I kind of quickly learned that like LinkedIn is important and connections are important. So like I said, I created an account. I started like uh joining street teams. So like to name a few, Fan to Fan, Jonas Group Entertainment, Jaded Productions. Started kind of volunteering where I could. I had my first internship in March of 2022. My first three internships were unpaid, unfortunately, but I've been paid since, so I'm like thankful for that. But I kind of just tried to kind of throw myself in wherever I could and learn wherever I could. I was attending like probably weekly or at least bi-weekly, webinars and stuff like that. I've got several books. Um, and I think I started out when I left high school, I started out community college because, like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do, kind of wasn't sure where I should go. And even though I really appreciated my experience there, like academically, extracurricular wise, all that kinds of stuff, I felt like the people there just did not have the music industry knowledge that I needed. And that's why I'm so grateful that I am where I am right now, like sitting where I am right now, which is at a liberal arts college that's got one of the top music industry programs in the country. Um, I'm very grateful to be here because it's really going to give me that like well-rounded knowledge of like, okay, these people know about the industry. These people are prepped with industry relevant knowledge that's applied to here in the Cleveland market. I think, you know, back home in Dayton where I lived, I really struggled a lot um, with finding opportunities. I think the main issues were like either they weren't going to pay me or every, they already paid everybody they could and kind of worked for the staff. So it's like it kind of sucked because in this beginning times I was getting the same advice over and over, and I'm like, okay, I've done that. What now? So that's another thing where I'm like, I'm super grateful to one, have spent the summer in Nashville, and two, now be in a somewhat larger market. We're, here in Cleveland, we've got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we've got House of Blues, we've got the Agora, all that kinds of stuff. So I'm super grateful to kind of be in a spot where stuff like that isn't so out of reach.
No, I think that's awesome. And you're right. If you can find an internship that's a paid internship, that's definitely a plus. Obviously, we need to get by. You have to pay your bills. I love also how you mentioned going to a community college if indeed you just didn't know exactly what you wanted to do. You knew you wanted to be part of this industry, but just not sure
Right,
how to navigate and get there. The thing
right,
I want to point out to our listeners is that you do have to try a little bit of everything. You mentioned doing merch, you mentioned fan engagement, doing an internship here and there. That is how you get experience, and that is how you build a network. Now, speaking on network, tell me how important networking has been to your success.
oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't count on my hand the amount of times that I've gotten a certain opportunity or I've been introduced to somebody like all throughout there. I don't think I would have. I think somebody had introduced me to John Bell, and somebody had introduced me to Austin Whitney. Like people like that I maybe didn't even know were working in accessibility have like been because somebody knew them. And so I think it's been super important, especially as I've built Disabled Music Fans Collective. I think, my network has been super, super supportive. And I think one thing I'll say is have received a lot more support from people in the industry than I ever did from people at my school in my hometown. I think they more kind of just blew it off as like, oh, she's just a fangirl doing whatever. This can't really be like serious, can it? And I'm like, but the people in the industry do see it as something serious. Granted, they're kind of limited in what they can do based on, okay, do we have the nonprofit status or not? But like, even in those kind of early months and like, 2022-ish, like I was getting invited to speak on panels and invited to speak in workshops and stuff like that. So from my network. So it's been super important, and I think it will continue to be important. I always am trying to reach out to certain people to like say, hey, do you have like knowledge on like say like fundraising or partnerships or something like that? Because I know, like I think my philosophy is this: why spend money looking and using resources out there? Yes, some of the paid resources are worth it, but like, why use that when I can go and talk to the people who've already done it, already been in my shoes once, um, and learn from them? And I think I will say this to also list the listeners as well. Yes, it's important to invest in your career, but I think you should do it wisely, especially if you're, and I think, everybody here is probably conscious of their money and conscious of what limits they have. But I think my advice is this: your career should never come at a cost of either actual financial resources or your mental, physical, emotional well-being. It should never come at that cost. Um, and I will say, yes, go and buy some books or something like that, but like, don't feel like you have to dig so deep to even get your career started, because there's so many free resources and people out there who are just willing to talk. I'm sure Rhett is one of those people, but yeah, I would say networking is incredibly important. And I'm not saying that just because I'm like, oh, connections are everything. They are. But I think it's just as important to have people who will genuinely support you throughout your journey and will say, hey, like for me, Disabled Music Fans Collective has been inactive for a couple of years because I've kind of transitioning through college and stuff like that. And it's just hasn't been something I've been able to dedicate time to. But these people in my network are telling me, hey, take your freaking time. Like, don't worry about it, because the industry will always be here to support that when you're ready. So it's those types of people that you wanna look for and that you wanna surround yourself with. You don't want to surround yourself with people who you feel like, oh, they can just kind of get me this one thing one time and then, never talk to them again. Because, there's one thing about, transactional relationships, but there's also, it's like, if they're not going to support you in the long run, then are they really worth having in your circle anyway?
No, it's a very true point, right? Like you do want genuine people. You don't want anyone around you who's saying like that's a dumb idea, you're wasting your time. You want people that help bring you up and rise you up and are going to be support systems. And you mentioned something very important. The industry is not going anywhere. Fan engagement is going to be needed. Advocating for people to have great experiences and safety is a very key component right now of the
Right,
music industry. So
right.
um, I'm curious. Obviously, you're in college right now to kind of fine tune exactly what you want to do in the industry. But if you could have any job in this music industry, what would that be?
Yeah, so it's funny because like when I first started out, I knew I wanted to work in touring. I knew I wanted to be on the road doing VIP, doing merch, doing the direct like fan experience type stuff. But then, like I said, I spent the summer in Nashville. I was interning at Wasserman in their tour marketing department. And I realized, like, even just seeing, like, day to day, like, how much, like, the agents were, like, rushing around, always on their phone, always, like, talking to somebody. It's like, I kind of want better work-life balance than that. Because I know, obviously, touring people work, 14, 16, 18-hour days and are on the road for months and months at a time. And it's like, have their relationship strained and all that kinds of stuff. And I'm like, maybe that's not what I want. So I mean, obviously still evolving, but it's also the concern that I have of, okay, can my body physically handle it? Because realistically, I've had to like turn down some one-off gigs because they weren't going to be accessible, because I can't do the heavy lifting. I can't, push things really, without some difficulty. So it's like other things that people who are touring are used to doing or could or can do without trouble. It's like, it's going to be a different story for me. So it's like, like I said, being where I'm from, it's like I haven't had a whole lot of opportunities to even try that out. So it's still kind of a thing of like, we'll kind of play it by ear. We'll kind of address it as it comes. But I really would love to be on the road and um, just kind of, like I said, make an impact on people because I think, sitting behind a desk, I mean, yes, I was able to kind of see fans enjoy tour launches and stuff like that, but I feel like um, sitting at a desk, it's like it feels less involved. And I think I definitely I think it's so very rewarding to see the smiles on people's faces when they say, "Oh, I'm so excited to like meet or see this artist," and like I waited XYZ amount of hours, or I paid this money and I'm here and all that kinds of stuff. When people are just so excited and so happy, that's what I want to see. So it's like I'm trying not to limit myself, but I'm also trying to be realistic in that, like, hey, again, don't sacrifice your health for an industry that you may not want to stay in.
No, you're very wise. Obviously, self-awareness is such an important skill that you need to have in life,
Hmm.
and being realistic, knowing where, what your body can handle, what your mind can handle. I've never been on the road, but the people my friends who have been on the road, come home exhausted. Yes, there are those great fun moments and eating fun things and such, and experiencing the fans, but it's like, okay, now's the call, jumping on the bus, now you're going, and it is very physically draining, both on the body and the mind. um And, working at Wasserman and having an internship, that's one of the largest agents out there. For our listeners, that's not only just music, that's sports and agents in sports and in movies and television and film. And then, of course, obviously festivals and musical artists. And so great experience working at Wasserman. So obviously that helps prepare you. And as you can see, agents are constantly on the phone, constantly doing deals and trying to get the best for their artist, and then obviously being able to take care of themselves a little bit by booking those artists. So
Right.
you definitely have that all locked in. I'm curious, do you have a mentor? Is there a mentor that comes to mind when I say, do you have a mentor?
I mean, yeah, I have like several mentors. I think some like okay, so the main inspiration for me wanting to work in VIP and merch specifically is because of a VIP coordinator that I met when I was very heavily into 5 Seconds of Summer and was attending their concerts like every year. And she was she was very determined to make the experiences accessible for me. And I think that's why we connected so much. But she still is such a big mentor for me. We don't talk very often because, again, she is still always on the road, but we even sometimes on Instagram be like, message each other or whatever. And I like say, hey, like, this is so awesome. So happy for you. Da, 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 da. But I do have, several mentors, like either through formal programs or just kind of out of, happenstance. But yeah, I have some people that I look up to greatly and who have also like just been huge advocates for me. Lisa J. Robinson she was working, she's no longer with them, but she was working over at Downtown Music Publishing, and she really was a huge advocate for me through the process of getting a music biz scholarship. She was on the committee for that, and she was like, I can't like directly vote for you, but like I will strongly advocate. So it's just like it's those types of things where people really want to see you succeed, not just career wise, but also academically, also just in general. And I think, it's kind of, and some people may view this superficially, but I can tell when it's like the same people that like will comment or, like a post of mine, that's more of a like a life update and not like hey, I'm announcing that I'm starting a position. Like it's more of like a life update when I can tell that the same people kind of engage with those and like, okay, these people may not necessarily be mentors, but they're people who I know are like here for the long haul and who see me doing things and who want to consistently be part of my life and my career. But yes, I think mentors are extremely important. And I think I would say to the listeners, like, I think the right mentor will come to you. Like, don't go out there looking for a mentor and just go around people, and be like, can you be my mentor? Like, it needs to have like a, not necessarily a formal conversation, but like a two-way street type thing of like, okay, like I need XYZ, like, advice or guidance or whatever. And then I think the important thing about mentorships, and I did an article for my school newspaper at community college about mentorships and how important those are. And one of the interviewees said, it's really about learning alongside each other and like, what can you learn from your mentee or your mentor? Like, what can you learn from each other? So I think, and some of my best mentors have been those that have really listened to me about accessibility and how frustrating it is to be a disabled student and person in this industry. But yeah, I mean, the importance can't be understated.
I love that.
Or overstated, I should say.
I want to say there's a nonprofit that I think you should reach out to and get involved. It's Living the Dream. Have you heard of Living the Dream?
I might have. I might.
Scotty Summers created that, and I believe the singer of Pierce the Veil is kind of running with it. And I can't remember. Scotty has a disability or a health issue, but it's almost like the Make a Wish Foundation type
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, yes.
But
Yes.
they definitely, if somebody is having some serious health issues and they have a certain band that they love and they want to meet, if that's Blink 182, if that's Slipknot, or The Used, whatever it is, they make those experiences happen and give them all access passes, and they really have that one-on-one time with the artists. So I feel like your road could lead there. So most definitely you should reach out and say that I sent you that way.
Yeah.
I want to ask you just two last questions, then I want to open it up if anyone on our call has questions for you. Is there a mantra that you catch yourself saying daily that kind of keeps you positive, focused, something that you just see yourself, saying daily?
I don't think I have a mantra, but I definitely, when things get really difficult, and as often, I usually like to kind of remind myself, like, hey, there's people out there who like, and I'm not saying I'm a savior, I'm not saying I do everything, but I'm saying that there's people out there who don't know that I exist, or like when I do exist, or like whatever, but like that need it, that want it, that need this community, and that in order for them to get it, in order for them to find it, in order for it to get to them, I need to continue pushing forward. And I think it's that carries me forward. Because I think as a disabled person, obviously this work is very emotionally taxing. It's very laborious in that way. But I think the impact that I can make is really like fulfilling, and I think it's why I do what I do. And so I think I want that to kind of be my guiding light.
I love it. Beautiful. One last question. Obviously, you did some pretty amazing stuff when you were young, creating a nonprofit at 15, but where you are now and all that you've experienced, what's the biggest piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
I would say, like, don't say yes to everything. Like, even now I do that, and I catch myself doing that. I'm like, you gotta stop. Because I think as, young early career professionals, we get stuff thrown at us. It's like, oh, do everything you can, get involved in everything you can, get experience XYZ. But like, I think it's important for us to step back and really realize, okay, what's our capacity? Like, what's realistic for us to do? Because and I was shown this like curve the other day in one of our like welcome presentations here at college, of like, here's on the y-axis is like productivity or stress, and then on the x-axis is productivity. Well, when stress goes up, then you're always going to have some amount of stress. But like when stress goes too much, then your productivity goes down. But when you're at kind of that base level of like, okay, I know I'm managing, I've got some stress, but I know I'm managing, then you're going to be in a good spot. If you overload yourself too much, whether that's with internships, volunteering, clubs, whatever, if you overload yourself too much, you're going to find that like your productivity in those various spaces decreases dramatically. And then it's going to be a vicious cycle of, oh, I don't feel like I'm contributing enough. And I feel like then that's going to lead to burnout. So, and I've experienced that cycle way too many times and still do. But I think it's my biggest piece of advice would be to, like, just have know your own limits and don't overdo it. I know it's easier said than done, but trust me, like I said, and I'll repeat this again, this industry is not worth your mental, physical, emotional well-being. It's not worth your health. So do the work that you can now to prevent, because your body is the one that you get. You only get one, and you got to take care of it. So do what you can now to take care of it and do that, and so that you have the career longevity that I know you all want.
What do you plan on to do with your company eventually? Like, what is your business plan and long-term business plan once you graduate from college and once you form your charity into a bigger organization?
Yeah, so I see that's kind of one of those things that's kind of unclear right now because that's one of the things I'm working on is a business plan and is a long-term plan. But I think I would love to eventually work with artist teams in some capacity of like, okay, we know that your fans, like you got a disabled fan base, you just want to get them engaged. So like, here's some tools, here's some kind of starting resources to do that. I'm the type of person, and I'm sure a lot of disabled people are like this, we will not handhold you. We will not spoon feed you everything because that's not our job. But we will certainly give you the resources and give you the tools to get started, and then you can kind of build upon that from there. So I would certainly love to kind of approach artist teams on like a consulting basis of like, okay, let's start with your social media content. Let's start putting captions on your videos and all that kinds of stuff. So you have at least have the baseline of like, okay, here's the accessibility. But because obviously accessibility isn't going to happen overnight. There are a lot of, it's not just checking boxes either. I should make that clear. But I think I would love to do that at some point, and obviously partnering with other industry organizations and nonprofits and companies and stuff like that. I'd love to get some, young disabled professionals involved and connecting them with opportunities and stuff like that. Again, it's unclear, but I would love to. I hope you stick along for the ride.
I love it. Beautiful. Carly, I want to thank you again for your time. I have no doubt you're going to be successful in anything you do. You're extremely smart. You're driven. You got resiliency. You know how to communicate. You know how to advocate for yourself and advocate for others. Just know the work that you're doing is, and I think you know this, it's bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And just keep going. That you're going to find more mentors. You've got a strong head on your shoulders. Just keep going. I can't wait to see, you said stick around for the ride. It is going to be a positive ride for you. So, like I mentioned, just keep up the good work, good health to you. And thank you again for making time for us and inspiring us and speaking on Breaking the Biz.
Thank you so much.
As we conclude another enriching episode, we hope you've found inspiration in the stories shared today. Let's take a moment to honor Yes I Can's role in bringing Breaking the Biz to life. Yes I Can's commitment to empowering young people with disabilities through education, advocacy, and mentorship shines brightly, paving paths of opportunity and dialogue. This podcast celebrates the organization's dedication to nurturing talent and facilitating impactful discussions. Breaking the Biz is more than a podcast. It's a part of Yes I Can's broader mission to amplify voices, dismantle barriers, and craft a world that's more inclusive and accessible for everyone. Each episode is a chapter in our shared narrative of progress, education, and empowerment, driven by the spirit of Yes I Can. Thank you for spending your time with us on Breaking the Biz. Continue to challenge the status quo and share stories that resonate. Until our paths cross again, let's keep transforming aspirations into achievements and infuse every endeavor with optimism. Here's to advancing the landscape of the entertainment industry, one episode at a time. I'm your host, William Felber. See you next time.